in this part of our video series on the B-17, we're wrapping things up. I've done all the painting, I've done all the masking, I've done the decals, I've done everything. And the last thing I did was I came on to the airplane here and I added all the small detail parts that would get in the way otherwise. In other words, I put the machine guns in, the tail and the waist guns and the radio compartment, top and bottom turrets, and in the front nose, which was really tricky. Like I say, my aircraft has a slight sheen to it because I haven't finished weathering it. We are basically done the basic build. We've built, painted, finished everything, and what I'm going to do is call this a finished B-17. The HK-132 scale B-17 is done, and I will go ahead on my own and do probably a little more weathering on this. In other words, I'll do some exhaust streaking, I'll do maybe some washes on door panels and hatches and things like that, and I'll film that separate, and we'll do those as separate videos so you can see some weathering. And then when I'm finished weathering, I'm going to hit this with a dull coat so that I get a nice flat military finish. But the B-17 is complete. I thought we would step over here to the workbench and just review very quickly the materials that I used to build this beautiful aircraft model. I started out with glues. We talked about assembly and cleaning up parts and test fitting. I used Tamiya liquid cements. I also at times use super glue or CA, cyanoacrylate, and this is CEC Corp super glue. I use that a lot. They have formulations for plastic, wood, metal. And I also used a little bit of epoxy glue in different places. That's 2-part 5-minute epoxy. When we were painting the interior of the aircraft, we used panel liner, and this is Tamiya's panel liner. It's a dark brown. I use that to outline all of the framing and structure inside the aircraft. When we got to decals, I used Tamiya products like their decal scissors, and I used their decal tweezers and decal set, and that's to put the decals down. When we painted, and I kind of jumped ahead there, but when we painted, we used Mission Models paints to do the olive drab and the gray. My samples there. I also used a variety of other colors on interior parts and such. I used some AK and some Tamiya colors, and that's their respective thinners. You can see the Tamiya airbrush back here, the spray work air gun, Sparmax air gun, and compressor. Used that pretty extensively. When we were building the aircraft, some of the tools that we used were a knife, sanding discs and blocks, and rubber bands. I also have a variety of sandpaper here that I used. I have Tamiya finishing abrasive. I have Tamiya sponge abrasive. I also have some AK dry and wet sandpaper. As we were building, we were adding some detail to the kit with Eduard parts. These are Eduard photo etch parts. They make a variety of different sets for this aircraft and other aircraft as well. I also used some of Eduard's Brassin for the machine guns, which are resin guns with photo etch detailing. Last but not least, I used Eduard Mask. This is a really great product. This is the product I used to mask off all the windows when I went to paint. And last but not least, we'll go back to the decal area and talk about Warbird's decals. I made the nose art for my aircraft from scratch, but I used Warbird's national insignia decals and data marks and things for this aircraft. These are great decals, and I think that's about it. Other than my cutters and my sanders and my drills and things like that, these are the basic materials that I used. There's the finished product. As I say, as I move along and I do some weathering on it, I will film that and we'll release that as a separate video, but there it is. It was a long road. We brought it in, and it's a beautiful aircraft model. So until next time, keep modeling, and we'll see you then.